Hello, everyone. This is the U.S. 250th anniversary for independence of 4th of July. Everything about it, how it began, and everything about the history of the 4th of July would be the best way to put it, and how it began, and everything about how.
You're repeating yourself, Robert.
Okay. Well, and that's we're celebrating the 4th of July birthday and bringing it all new different ways of talking about it and seeing what it's like. We're going to be having stories.
So you're going to introduce everybody?
Yeah, introducing Lord
Edworthy.
Lord Edworthy of the Klingon Empire. And my brother Roger Hanson, the mastermind.
I'm just here to read. That's it.
And anyone else that comes in as well. There's okay. And my brother will do the reading of the documents. Okay, here he is.
Well, it's not like a reading of the documents. It's I put
I pay formal.
Now, Robert put together some topics he wanted to talk about, so I went ahead and did short stories for it. The first one was the Maryland 4th Regiment, and so I wanted to make a short story for the show, and it's called The Day the Immortal Stood. Here it goes.
The Immortals. There are days when history is written, not by kings, not by politicians, but by ordinary men who choose to stand when everyone else must run. August 1776. Brooklyn burned beneath smoke and thunder. 10,000 British soldiers closed the trap behind General Washington. Only the East River remained. The revolution, balanced on a single afternoon. Then came the order. Major Mordecai Gist, 400 Maryland regulars. Step forward, no illusion of victory, no promise of survival, only duty, only time. One charge, then another, again, again. Again, 6 times, into a force 5 times their number. Every volley bought another minute. Every fallen soldier purchased another life. Washington raised his spyglass. Across the smoke, he watched them disappear. Then quietly, almost to himself, good God, what brave fellows I must this day lose. "256 never returned. The army did. The revolution did. A nation did. History remembers them as the Maryland 400. Many simply call them the immortals. Not because they could not die, but because what they gave never will.
That's it. You gonna talk now, Robert?
Yeah. Well, because it was just the idea that you look at, they thought of more than enough. They did not wait for what other places were passing their thing, the laws that had to affect them and their way, where they was getting pushed on to them. Like they had no rights to speak their minds in any form or fashion, where the King of England would just speak them down if they speak their minds in any form or fashion. And because the law says whatever that they so choose, other groups will have to obey by what the king says. And that for independent, to get their word across, they had only to do certain things to make it clear to anyone that decides to tread on anyone's rights within this country for what they would want, and the constitution of the government, for the government as well, where when they would pop up and what happened over in I forget what to call it, where they dump all the tea in the off the boats in New York. Okay, that was like tea.
Yeah, that was the Boston Tea Party, Robert.
Yeah, Boston Tea Party.
And you said the Constitution was for the government. It's actually for people.
No. Well, what I was referring to is the government of the people, for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And where when people would go over, try to dictate on the whole promises of that law of what the government.
Well, I mean, you had a good story there, and like you're not even like discussing that. You're talking about like the Boston Tea Party and stuff like that.
Oh,
that was
okay,
actually a pretty respectable story. I mean, when I ended up doing that for you, I was like, that's a pretty good pick. I was really glad that you brought that up, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, I think more of what that is it's more focused towards the militia rather than a lot of the Boston Tea Party. That was that was just straight up freaking American propaganda, dude. Like, nobody really cared about the tea. You know.
Yeah. Well, it was just
also the Constitution wasn't written for another 11 years anyway.
Yeah, right. I mean,
1687. So,
like it was the Articles of Confederacy that was the first thing we had, and then that ended up failing. So,
and when they would talk about, and they would set it up to where we did not want where our church dictated as well in any form or fashion on how our government would work. Because in England, the church dictated on how things were. If not, things didn't go the church's way, they make it very hard on the people who didn't disagree with the church.
And not quite true, because from Henry VIII's time, the church, the monarch was the head of the church. Therefore, it wasn't actually the church dictating; it was the monarch through its representative government.
Yeah, it's like the government was the church, is what he's saying, Robert. It's like and it's like now the thing that with the separation of church and state, and that's been a big debate too, because even though it's implied, a lot of people say that that's not the truth, but I
Interesting. We having the same sort of conversations in Britain at this present moment, sort of.
You know, but when we had that thing about the thing, they were asking what type of people will we will accept in Congress, and they looked and said, we do not want I forget what they call, but if they were in the church, they did not want them to be anywhere part of the government. I forget the part of it, but they made that point about that because they did not want.
You know, you've got to be careful about what you listen to on the media, because I mean, there's a lot of people just spreading a whole bunch of garbage.
I was going to say, even though the US has always technically been a fairly Protestant country anyway.
It was what?
Has been a very sort of Christian, more than Protestants, a very Christian country anyway.
Well, yeah, they base their laws on it.
No, they don't. They don't base their laws on Christianity. See, people who are in government, they can have a religion or not have a religion. That's the whole thing that makes Constitution, the separation of church from state, important, because you can't enforce Christian laws. Like, you can't tell people that freaking in order for you to be in the United States, you have to be a Christian or you're not allowed here. We don't do that.
No, but I'm talking about more fundamental laws, like those "thou shall not kill," "thou shall not murder."
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Because we do have them laws, and they do follow in the book, but when that same thing is when other places don't believe into that, that's when the problems arises from it. You know. Okay.
A better argument would be that like Britain, the US has got a fairly Christian culture.
What country is that?
Rather than laws per se.
Well, because a lot of places they hear of that, and they make it to where make their part of their religion into similar like that, where they can say, well, we were gonna follow what you say, but this is our religion as well, how we believe in certain things as well, the laws of our country.
Well, Robert, I mean,
conflict what I'm saying.
Well, to be honest, I think when it comes to the Constitution, you're like way off, and you don't really understand what the Constitution is saying about religion, and this includes Christians. Okay, in the First Amendment, especially in the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, it says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So that means our government has not got any rights whatsoever to freaking to respect any established religion, and they don't have any right to prohibit a person from exercising any religion that they have at the same time.
And just to clarify that, respect any specific religion.
Right.
I mean, you can respect all religions.
You can go and believe in. You can go to any church you want to. You can go to believe in any religion you want to. It's just when it comes to government and stuff like that, you are not allowed to push your beliefs onto the American people.
Even though previous presidents, including the current one, have vocalize their own Christian beliefs whilst being, president, whilst being in that office.
Well, I mean, I could also say the same thing in respect to forcing
But yeah,
children.
but England, Britain has got a longer sort of Christian sort of relationship with. We don't have the sort of state and church separation as you do.
I could say the same thing though when it comes to like our country forcing its children to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance facing the flag too. That's completely unacceptable. That's not even a part of frickin' actual constitutional government or anything like that. That's more
50s.
Yep. And people today honestly think that that's the way it's always been, and the reason for that is because they watched Little House on the Prairie, you know what I mean? And on Little House on the Prairie, all those good little freaking school kids with the school marm was sitting there, and they stood up and they said the Pledge of Allegiance, and the American flag was sitting over there in the corner, and everybody just believed that's the way it was. And the truth is that never happened in those days at all. You know.
I mean, what's the old joke? The old joke about being a U.S. citizen. You believe in God, country, and apple pie.
Yeah.
Well, that is true though. God, country, and apple pie, especially apple pies. You know.
Well, during that time, they were like special groups and all that was fighting against them and all that, and losing, and like at winter time and all that, they really did hit it hard because a lot of them freezing, their toes were falling off, their feet would turn black from the cold, and they were just barely getting by. And their health wasn't all that good. They were dying from bacteria and all that because everybody was getting sick and all that. And the food that the farmers were having problems with keeping that up and all that because when the other group. They would get the food as well. Take it. They would. I mean, when they would run out, what I'm saying, they would send an extra group to the other town to see what's going on. And if there's not too much going on there, and if there were food supplies, the caravan, they would get that food, and they would hear. And when people would hear them coming, they would torch their homes, destroy all things they did before that would help out.
Are you talking about the British whenever they would?
Yeah, when British was in the U.S.
The British they would. Well, that was actually happening. Now.
Yeah.
That was, they were...
Sorry, I was just thinking of similar situations when both France under Napoleon entered Russia, and then later when Germany under Hitler entered Russia, or retreated from Russia, should I say. Where, the Russians would do similar sort of thing, and the logistics wasn't there for in first place the French and later the Germans not being able to feed a large amount of their own troops.
Yeah, and they were doing that thing about medicines as well too, because they had found out that a lot of places their own was getting sick from it.
Let me also put something in here too, because this is a perfect place to say this, and I think a lot of people who are over patriotic, they don't realize the Revolutionary War was not pretty. Okay, everybody looks at Vietnam and they say Vietnam was horrible and a lot of bloodshed, and they don't understand it was the same way in the Revolutionary War too. You know what I mean?
Oh, the bloody.
Yeah, I mean you know, when you look at that war, you have to stop painting it with this patriotic, you know, loyal thing where all the troops stood in line and they just loaded their muskets and
They were all smiling and and every single shot hits the opponent. Yeah, it happened.
and see, none of them crossed the line. They just stood there and they just waited until they were shot. You know, I mean, and people honestly do believe that. Like, they believe that every soldier stood in line and then loaded their muskets and just freaking fired and then got down on their knee, and that's all they did.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that do believe that.
Romanticism of war.
How you doing, sir?
Gentlemen,
Dan Tran. Welcome.
happy Independence Day.
Same.
Thank you.
Indeed. Well.
Canada's part of the Independence Day thing, because, you know, like they said, they came from Canada into the U.S. during that, for the Cuba.
Well, it was
Discrimination.
no, that was actually the other way around. We sent them to Canada.
Well, no,
Actually, I would say, how many Canadians had the joined the American forces?
none that I know of, because they were part of the Russian group.
Well, the Canadians, the ones who were here from the United States were actually the loyalists. And after the war,
Well, there's people in the United States, but I was thinking on the same concept as how many Germans joined British.
Yeah, there was with three, I think, with 3 to 4 different countries was part of it, because they had over, I think they said was over 300 ships full of military and supplies and all that in all those ships.
you know
when they
what?
came back.
You know what though? I have always wondered, and I've never heard anybody bring this up. But was Canada actually like an established country with its own government before the Revolutionary War, or was it the actual loyalists that moved to Canada and created their own government?
No, it was still part of. Well, it was still a British colony.
The Revolutionary War was in the 1700s.
Yeah.
Canada was a country in 1867.
Yeah.
Oh, part of they were part of the U.S.
They were part of the
UN?
UK. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they were part of the thing of where when the UK came over, they went through Canada. Because I'm going to lie.
What basically happened was like after the Revolutionary War, the people who were the loyalists here actually were exiled from the United States and had to move to Canada. Like, they were literally kicked out, told you're not allowed to be here anymore. You see what I mean?
But yeah, didn't the Americans try to take over some of the future Canadian lands? Part of that war.
I know about that War of 1812. Whenever people talk about the burning of Washington, D.C., that actually started because some of the Americans here in the United States went up into Canada and burned down one of the government buildings there, and they retaliated from it. And that's why.
Yeah.
That's
You know, they got in Canada, they got one of them stockade, the big military places there that hold over 300 Canadian troops in there. And
who burned who? I thought the Americans burned down the Parliament building in Canada, in Toronto, in York, where it was used to call York, way back when.
well, I just knew of they had that big scrimmage at that one military complex they built in on the border of Canada, and the U.S. the government went up there and they had two big old skirmish that they did between Canada and the U.S. military, or
Battle
not
of,
military, but the groups.
Battle of Queenston Heights, 1812. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Again, well, technically, that would be in the US at the time. I was just thinking about when you said the UK. I was just trying to remember when Scotland became part of the Union, but that was 1707. But Ireland wasn't a part of UK as yet. That wasn't until.
I think it was 1998 when they gave them asked them, do they want to be part of their own country?
Sorry, no, Ireland, 1800, the Act of Union, 1801.
Well,
Now,
The British was in Canada way.
Yeah, sorry, it would be
Way
British,
back, way back when,
Scottish,
yeah.
or English, Scottish.
I wanted to clear that up for you, Robert, what Mark is talking about there. He's not talking about whenever Ireland left the UK. He's talking about whenever Ireland joined the UK. That was back in the 1800s.
they didn't have no choice when the king died.
Listen, yeah, you're not listening.
No, at the time of the Civil War, Ireland
Was not a part of the UK.
even of all what we know now as the Republic, wasn't a part of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay, but at that time, time.
When Ireland king died, when was that?
King.
Yeah, King of Ireland. Where when the UK took over.
No, that was on Braveheart. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as the King of Ireland, dude. Like Ireland is its own universe.
Yeah,
Like,
but who was in charge during that time?
What time?
1800s.
No, it was in the 1700s too, because it was a thing that they were saying that
Ireland was separate set of provinces. There wasn't a single island as a country. Well, as a unified country.
they were talking like there was a person that.
There was no such. Arguably, I would argue that there's never been a unified Ireland.
Because I was.
No. To be honest with you, I'm almost betting that you're confusing Ireland with Scotland. To be honest.
Scotland.
Yeah, I would almost bet you're confusing Scotland with Ireland because I do that. I do that sometimes too because it's really not really something that should be that. Like you shouldn't confuse the two. Don't get me. You know what I mean? But I do it sometimes. Like the stories. But I would almost guarantee you're referring to Scotland more than you are Ireland. Because Scotland did have a king. And actually, I find it weird that frickin', what's her name, Mary. She was the one who actually was supposed to have the rightful place on the throne with Victoria. You know, because she was the true heir when it comes to the lineage. You know, a lot of people don't know that, but
Okay. I just remember they were talking about that in history about why they were having fights against each other. The two, fight for because when one would come, they came in and took, and they wanted independence. They didn't want the UK or however.
Technically, the last monarch was Queen Anne. It was the monarch, the independent monarch of Scotland, was dissolved the Act of Union in 1707.
The battle that starved an empire. Others. Because they changed everything that came after. This is one of those battles. Summer. 1777, General John Burgoyne marched south. Confident. His army was large. His mission was clear, but armies do not march. On confidence alone, they march on food, on horses, on wagons, on supplies. The order was simple. March east. Find Bennington. Gather what the army needs. 800 men, professional soldiers, Hessian mercenaries, British regulars, loyalists. They expected frightened settlers. Instead, they found Americans waiting. Not an army of uniforms, an army of neighbors, farmers, hunters, blacksmiths, merchants, men who knew every hill, every stream, every tree, standing before them. General John Stark. He looked across the line and made a promise. They are ours today, or Molly Stark sleeps a widow tonight. No cheering, no celebration, only determination. The militia closed from every direction. The British line began to fold. Retreat disappeared, hope disappeared. Then another column arrived, not to rescue victory, but to share defeat. Colonel Seth Warner and the Green Mountain Boys drove them back. Nearly 1,000 soldiers, gone, captured, wounded, or dead. The supplies never came, the horses never came, the food never came! Neither did Burgoyne's victory. 2 months later, Saratoga. The British surrendered. Many remember that battlefield. Few remember the hunger that began here, on a quiet farm where ordinary Americans starved an empire.
During that time when all this was going on, that a lot of the people, the farmers, and they got into where this one group too was real good at what they were doing, fighting, and where when they needed the thing doing with the muskets, they were so good at hunting and all that. They were like sharpshooters during that time. They were, this one group was, and I guess they were there, what they would call special forces back then, because they brought it up that for when there were situations and all that they had to use, they would have them come there. They would travel to spot by orders and all that. And during that time, the secret tree, the one that all the military, when they get separated, would go meet up at this one specific tree here in the U.S. This tree is just as old as anything else. It's part of the history of the U.S. because any point in time when any fractions or anything that does go, everybody would head for this one specific area, where this one tree is, and would meet up with other parts of the government, military. and that's where they would go. And the tree finally got passed away, died, and this tree has supported the music industry with special wood from this tree, and the instruments are worth in the process $2,000. The guitars are, and other parts. They use it for wide varieties of musical in it. But this one spot it's like a national park where you can't go there. People can't go there and mess with anything up there, because it's a like the bird, national bird. If anyone gets caught hurting that bird or on that property, that they get prosecuted for, because they don't want, because there was a thing of where everybody knew where to go to meet up, and it was a secret place where all the government or all the military would know where to go to meet up with the rest of the other.
Okay, hold on. You're like really blowing that way out of proportion. Okay, the tree is metaphorical. Okay. No,
Well, no,
let me do this, because you're like really blowing this way out. Okay. Let me tell you what it is. It's called the Liberty Tree.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a local militia rallying point, and there was no actual tree where everybody ran to meet up. They called it the Liberty Tree, and that was just a location where the militia knew that they needed to meet up if things went bad. So they called it the Liberty Tree, and that is actually true. So that's something that I wanted to point out. I'll let you keep telling the story and stuff so that you can tell it, but just wanted to clear that up so that.
During that time, the tree was so.
No, there is no tree, Robert. I
Well,
don't know who told you that, but
It was on the news about that when the tree passed away, they had to finally cut it the rest of the way down, and they didn't want to get rid of the wood, so they had it processed and all that, and they made make instruments from it, the guitars.
Okay, I see where this is going. Was there was no actual tree. Later on, there could have been a tree used as a sort of symbolic gesture.
Well, this tree, it stood there for good over 200. This tree was that old. The rings on it, it registers up to like over 200. I mean, like if you take your house, okay, just imagine the round of your house is about the size of this tree. It was I can't think of the type of tree it was, but it was a big old round. I mean, the size, like if you was to take well, I guess like a 50. If your house is like 90 foot long and like 50 across, about like that around. That's how big around that tree was.
okay, I pulled it up for you, and what you're talking about is the Annapolis Liberty Tree, which was the very last surviving member of the original 13 Revolutionary War Liberty trees.
The elm tree based in Boston. Yeah.
So after it died and had to be taken down, its wood was purchased and crafted into the famous line of highly collectible limited edition acoustic guitars. That's the last of the Liberty trees.
Mm-hmm. And they were having problems that people were going there because it was like a landmark, and people were going there getting bark and all that, and the people were telling them that you just can't go around doing that to the tree.
I think I know where you're coming from when you're talking about making musical instruments. You're talking about the Annapolis Liberty Tree. at St. John College in Maryland. Was and after Hurricane Floyd in 1999, the wood was used to craft limited edition guitars.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about.
Well, to be fair, I that's probably more propaganda than anything else. I'm sorry to say that, because you know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden there's like a tree there. I've heard of the whole metaphor behind the Liberty Tree. Like, what was that one? Actually, it was that movie they came out with about the militia with what's his face off of Mad Max.
Okay. Yeah, him and the son.
Yeah.
Also, the Tree of Liberty was a metaphor during the French Revolution as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was a symbol.
It was more of a symbol. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like 13 Liberty trees. I've never even heard about it until now, all of a sudden, you know, so I'll check into it some more and stuff, but
Yeah, but they were doing the thing of, and like during the time where they were having problems with the railroad, that, you know, weather and all that, where you could pop up, knock out the tracks, you know, remove the things, and they were stacking them up on the poles.
Robert, you have completely just lost your mind. There was no railroad tracks in the...
Yeah, the railroad didn't happen for at least another 100 years in the US.
1800s.
Oh, okay.
I mean, where are you coming
yeah,
at?
Yeah, you're right. I got okay. Yeah.
You are not,
Yeah.
dude.
But they were doing the thing of medical and all that, because they were having all that. They were when they would come across shoes and all that. I guess they were they would get them from the UK groups and all that, because they were winding up with no shoes and all that, and going long distance. They were just having all sorts of problems with food and medical, but they were showing that that they would send groups ahead to other towns, and they would burn the towns, the people that lived there, to make sure that none of the food supplies or animal, they would kill the animals as well, because they knew that they couldn't outrun them. So they killed off the animals and burnt the food to where they wouldn't, but then they would leave the area.
Mm-hmm. That's common. That's quite common in most wars.
Yeah.
The 18th, 19th, early 20th century.
Yeah, like in New York, it's TOWN 1781, I think. It's about the time that there was a thing happened there in New York, and they were it was a big group. They sent other people there to check out and all that, and everyone was telling them how to go through the weapons and all that, the little tanks, and they got all muddy and all that. They did, and they were having problems getting them out of the mud and all that, and it took them even longer than they thought. And the food ran out quicker.
Yeah.
So did the medicines. And they had to send a few groups of theirs up in there to find out what is the next town and what's there. And there was that group where they were good at shooting, they could hit dime on the head with a bullet with one, and they were there, and they helped kept them back for a while, let the people get away before the bigger group came in.
Okay, I'm just doing some more research on this Liberty Tree then. You were partially correct. Thomas Paine, English-born American author, circa 1737 to 1809, wrote, is well known for writing these a pamphlet in 1776 called Common Sense, which made the case for declaring independence from Britain. In this pamphlet or ballad, as this was, in a ballad written in 1775, Paine memorized a famous 130-year-old elm tree that stood near the Boston Common, which was used at one point by defiant colonists to demonstrate their discontent for British rule, and the tree was cut down by the British in 1775. So you were partially
Okay.
right.
All right. I didn't know that. That was okay. And but like they were saying about the groups and all that, you know, and that they were during that time as well that that like Dick. Oh, well, they had to watch out because they realized who they were having problems with security, and they found out later on. What do you call that? Where here in the U.S., young kids get to go to that military school. Well, he made a deal with England about getting it, and they found out later on it was big. Benedict Honored. I know I can't. I'm not saying it right, but you know.
Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, he was the one that betrayed the school and told the UK about secrets that the US had planned, and it went for quite a while until some way or another. It got busted. The story got leaked out on who it was, and that one I can't. But during that time he did all that. He got by with quite a bit. He made a deal with England. Things. Can't think of that school, but the one that here in the U.S. it's real big for young adults.
It's
into the military.
Military Academy.
Yeah, military.
West
Point. Yeah.
West Point. Yeah.
Yeah. He betrayed. He told them about where West Point was at and all. Well, he mentioned that and a few other things. And they was wondering how did the English knew about them, about West Point and all that, because I guess it was brought up on some paperwork or something. And what you call them guys that goes back and forth delivering messages?
Careers. Careers.
Yeah.
Actually, it couldn't be West Point because West Point was founded in 1802. Actually, no. The site initially served as a strategic Revolutionary War fort in 1778. before becoming a college or academy in 1802. So
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I just knew that during that time that them two went together because they brought that up about West Point and him as well, and they, I forget how they all found out about whatever happened, how they found out about him being the one that was leaking the information. But they were having them during that time. They were using them horses, and they were losing horses as well because of the mud and all that, and them little cannons that they were using during the war and all that.
So by any chance did Robert like calm down or anything? Because like I had to go smoke a cigarette.
Actually, yeah, he was talking about the precursor to West Point, which was a fort at the time. And actually, he wasn't too far off. I don't know if you heard my mentioning of Thomas Paine.
Yeah, you mentioned it to me before.
As far as the Liberty Tree is concerned.
Now I can pull off like the window capture here so that I can do research into that and dig into more if you guys want that.
Okay.
I also wanted to fill everybody in that here in our area, our 4th of July might actually be ruined because of the weather. So. Yeah.
I'll give you a website that talks about Thomas Paine and a poem they made about Liberty Tree in our Elements chat. So you can have a quick, so you can do some further research yourself.
Sounds like a plan. Because it's like I said, I've heard of the Liberty Bell and stuff like that, but it's like this is the first time I've even heard of the Liberty trees.
Yeah, they brought that up on the thing about because that was the last one, and they were using that for that to where, and I guess someone came up with that idea about guitars and that, and they decided to do it that way.
It makes sense because like folk music, that kind of thing, you know, when it comes to patriotism.
You know, how does the Liberty Bell comes in? The Liberty Bell, when was it made, and how does it come into play as the part of the?
I'm not so sure, but it's quite well. I would think Roger should be able to.
Yeah, I can find it. It's just well, the thing of it is it's like Robert wanted me to use all these notes and stuff, so I pulled up like everything he's talking about right now has absolutely nothing to do with what he wanted as topics. Again, like he always does this to me. Now he's like talking about other stuff that I got to search, and He does this to me every single time he wants to do a show.
Yeah,
he's got all these cool freaking ideas, and then
keep you on your toes.
So I'm just gonna ask the search thing to tell me about the Liberty Bell and see what it says.
Yeah, you can go from there.
Tell me about the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell is one of the most famous symbols in American freedom, independence, and civil rights. Originally cast to commemorate the 50-year anniversary of William Penn's 1907 or 1701 Charter of Privileges. It later became a powerful icon for both the abolition of slavery and the women's suffrage movement. Today,
so we're talking about late 19th century, early 20th. Late 19th, early 20th. So we're talking at least a good 100 years after.
well, I mean,
independence.
it was actually 50 years after 1701. So originally, it was cast to commemorate the 50-year anniversary of William Penn's 1701 Charter of Privileges.
What is privileges, or what? I mean, like what?
The privileges in this context would be free men, free people, landowners.
1701. So let me go ahead and run a check on that one too. His 1701 Charter of Privileges. Now, the 1701 Charter of Privileges was the final constitution for the colony of Pennsylvania, issued by its founder, William Penn. It is widely considered one of the most radical and advanced documents of its time, fundamentally shaping early American democracy and directly influencing the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. Penn granted the charter to appease colonists who were frustrated by the absolute proprietorship and demanded more political power. It operated as Pennsylvania's supreme law for 75 years until the American Revolution. And then the first one is freedom of religion. That was the first privilege. The most revolutionary part of the charter was an absolute guarantee of religious freedom for anyone who believed in God. Unlike other colonies, Pennsylvania did not establish an official state church. Penn made this clause unilateral, meaning future governments could never vote to take away a citizen's right to worship freely.
Okay, presumably at that time, even though there wasn't a state church, there was only in reality one church in the area.
Well, according to them, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, the Puritans
Yeah. So they didn't really need to establish a state church because there was only one religion there.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying about the First Amendment too. Like, you know what I mean? And this is probably where all that started, was because they were getting tired of being controlled by the church through government. You know what I mean? It was like, usually people saw government and church as one and the same thing before constitutional government. It's like they didn't differentiate the two. You know what I mean? And that was pretty much how all of them were. Even England, because the Church of England was established by, Henry.
I know this is a very arguable point at this present moment, especially with a recent issue with King Charles III, but the monarch is the head of the Church of England and the so-called defender of the faith.
Oh, what?
The defender of the faith.
What is that?
The Church of England.
What faith?
The faith.
of Christian faith.
Defender of the faith.
Yeah. No, that's a very controversial point at this present moment, especially with how a certain document was written. Was it the royal household budgetary document was written and published within the last couple of weeks. There was a lot of criticism about it was written in such a way to suggest that the monarch is a defender of all faiths.
Well, see, the whole thing about it is, and like people who aren't into history don't understand this, is it's like kingdom, or however they say it. That was developed with the understanding that your king was the freaking person who represented God. Like God gave him he gave the king things that he didn't give the average person. You know what I'm saying?
True. Prior to Henry VIII, because kingdomship between at least 6th century AD to Henry VIII, it was the Pope that installed the king.
This goes all the way back even to like Assyria.
Like
the Assyrians believe that.
Installed the king?
Well, technically speaking, yeah.
During that time.
The monarch was answerable to, or in Britain, and the monarch, well, Europe, monarchs were answerable to the Pope.
What time was that?
No, that would be the holy. No,
This would be up to the Reformation.
Well, you need to understand. Okay, who is the one who started the Holy Roman Church? Okay, it wasn't. No. As a matter of fact, like when it comes to the Holy Roman Empire, what's his name? He starts with the C. He was the French guy.
Oh, French guy.
Yeah, wasn't he French? He's the one that started the Holy Roman Empire, and well, actually, it was Hungary or Austria or something like that. Hungary and Austria.
I see. You're talking about something else. Okay, all right.
He was the one that actually was the first person to be considered the Holy Roman Emperor. He seized Rome. I forgot his name.
Charlemagne. That's what you're talking about, right?
Who is it?
Charlemagne?
Charlemagne, yes. See, Charlemagne was actually the one who was in charge, and then everybody who was his successors were the ones after him. So it wasn't the Holy Roman.
If you're going by doctrine, then it's in St. Peter.
It is, but this is just something Charlemagne came up with, the Holy Roman Empire.
Okay. I was thinking St. Peter. Around AD 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when was it that the two started merging? The king and the church started working together?
Oh, that's always been. That's what I was trying to say. That's always been.
That's what I said. At least from the 6th century.
Okay, cool. So,
early, yeah.
So like basically what I'm saying is like this whole thing with constitutional government, no matter which country it is, it's relatively new. Like when it comes to the king and God, like king and God was one and the same. You know what I mean?
No, that's arguable. If you look at it from pre-Reformation,
Well, I mean, look at ancient history too. Like the Assyrians, I mean, they were the same.
Okay, yeah.
You know
So
what I
I'm
mean?
looking at it from a very European perspective.
Yeah, no, you should stop doing that. That's real. That's modern Western society kind of philosophy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So it's like
But even though the Church of England is represented in the House of Lords, the UK, in Great Britain.
well, I know when we were talking about the UK. Well, no, it was actually like 3 years ago. We were talking about Ireland and like how the church. No, it was the royal family. Actually, they had their like church affiliated with like the orphanages and stuff in Ireland. Remember that? Like they're the ones.
Interestingly, enough, it's the Church of England in the House of Lords that stalling the euthanasia, the elderly long-term ill bill, the euthanasia bill.
Well, I forget the group that was during this. It was a big military group of blacks was fighting for independence during that time too.